I'm not always a comic. In my day job, I work in construction, and my company has just issued iPads to everybody because we're going paperless. So we're not having blueprints anymore, no more plan sets. We've got a company-wide plan by 2040. We're going to be 100% paperless. And frankly, I don't think it's going to work. By a round of applause, who in here has tried to wipe with an iPad? One of the construction projects I'm working on is construction of an outdoor amphitheater in North Minneapolis. There's an outdoor amphitheater. And I swear, somebody started a rumor that Taylor Swift was going to be performing at this outdoor concert venue. Because before we even started construction, we had people camping out for tickets. Yes, we had homeless people on site. Do you guys have homeless people here in Duluth? So, a couple of them, yeah. So I found out we don't actually have them in Minneapolis where I'm from. So we called the police to remove the homeless people from our site, and they told us we don't have homeless people in Minneapolis. We have urban explorers. So we lived with them. So while I was on site, I took a poll, and 100% of urban explorers were upset when their tent fell over.
I took a poll.
Thank you. So I told that joke at work, and I got in trouble with HR. They liked that joke so much they wanted me to hear it in person. So I had to go and meet with HR, and I put on my nice suit, my nice tie, and I spilled coffee on my shirt before the meeting. And I thought, oh shoot, I'm gonna look like a slob coming in here with coffee on my shirt. And so I had this great idea that I would go into the men's room, wash my shirt in the sink, and then dry it with a hand dryer. And so I wash my shirt, the stain comes out, doing great, and I turn to look at the hand dryer. And it's not the kind that you can point the nozzle, it's the other kind. You know, the kind where you gotta play operation with your hands, so you don't touch the sides. And on top of that, my company cheaped out. We only bought one hand dryer. It's the kind for children in wheelchairs. And so I'm sitting there, I'm trying to dip my shirt into the hand dryer, drying my shirt, and then I hear from behind me, ahem! And I turn to look, and it's the vice president of my division. And I said, I spilled coffee on my shirt, and I was just trying to wash the stain out. And he goes, oh, well, I've done that before. And I said, yeah, and I kind of feel like an idiot, and I didn't really know what else to do. And he said, well, most people take their shirt off before they do that. So lesson learned. So on my day off, I brought my son with me to the construction site. I thought it'd be fun to watch the excavators digging in the dirt. And so we get on site, and he goes, I want to go in the construction trailer. And I said, son, we're here to look at the equipment, but if you want to go look at the excavators, or the job trailer, we can. And so we go, we look at the job trailer, and my coworkers are in there, my boss is in there, and my son goes, dang, I wanted a balloon animal. And I said, son, we're on a job site. What do you mean you wanted a balloon animal? And he says, loud enough for everybody in the trailer to hear, Dad, where are all the clowns you told me you work with? So we're having trouble hiring people at my work. I can't find enough qualified people, like I'm sure a lot of folks. For example, I was trying to find somebody in engineering, and I got to have a great interview with somebody that worked at Starbucks as a beverage engineer. So I said, listen, HR, stop using your screening software, give me all the applicants, I'll screen them myself. I figured, worst comes to worst, I'll at least get some material for my stand-up. And they did not disappoint. So I'm looking for construction folks, pretty entry level. And so the first one I asked, tell me what would your most recent supervisor say about your work ethic? And he said, that son of a bitch can kiss my ass. I came to work every day and I did my job, but I don't give a f what he says about me. And so that was a pass. Somebody else, I said, tell me about a time you worked on a team. And he said, well, I used to work at a bar. And one time, everybody called in sick. I had to make the food, pour the drinks, run the register, and do the whole thing by myself. And so this guy was a team of one, and not somebody I wanted on my team. Somebody else, I said, tell me about a time you worked with somebody from a culture different than yours. And he said, well, we had a potluck at my old work, and I had to bring the bacon. And I work with a couple of those Muslims, and you know those Muslims, they can't eat bacon. And admittedly, this was not a terrible answer, so I helped him out a little bit. I said, so did you bring turkey bacon to be more inclusive? And he said, oh no, I brought the real stuff. That's their problem, not mine. It's also a pass. Somebody else, they said they were new to the Twin Cities, they were eager to get back to work, and something about them during the interview that just was a little bit creepy. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And at the end of the interview, I said, do you have any questions for me? And he said, yeah, I got one question. Do you guys do a background check? I said, yeah, we do a background check. And he said, okay, just so you know, there's a guy who has the same name as me, and he used to live in Wisconsin, and he's a registered sex offender. And that was the thing I couldn't put my finger on. And would you believe he didn't pass his background check? Somebody else, I said, tell me about a time you had to make decisions in a stressful situation. And he said, the other day my buddy and I were doing lines of coke, and he fell asleep and I started drawing dicks on his face. And then I thought, wait a minute, we're doing coke, you should be falling asleep. Oh, he overdosed. And so I got him into my pickup truck and I drove him to the hospital. And it was stressful, but I saved his life. And I said, you know we drug test here, right? So somebody else, I said, tell me what are your strengths? And he said, I'm hardworking, punctual, I work hard, and I show up to work on time. And I said, you forgot good with a thesaurus. Somebody else answered that question a little better. I said, tell me your strengths. And he said, I perform under pressure well. Pretty good answer. So I said, can you give me an example? And he goes, bum 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 ba-da-da-dum, bum 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 ba-da-da-dum, bow bow. And if I'm being honest, after that Queen rendition, he was winning me over. And so I said, and what are your weaknesses? And he said, I'm just too honest. And I said, yeah, I don't really think that's a weakness. And he said, and I don't really care what you think. The next person showed up to their Zoom interview in a hammock. And I think this person at least wants to be outside, right? I'm looking for construction folks. This person happened to be an artist. They had experience doing concrete sculpture, which is a little applicable to what I'm doing. And so I asked him the obvious question, hey, why do you want this job? And he said, I'm a pretty good artist and I can draw most things except for a salary. And I liked his sense of humor, and so I hired him. My first day of work, the artist shows up at 7:30, and I said to him, hey, you should have been here at 7. And he said, why? What did I miss at 7? Your start time. So I sent my artist into the field. We had just finished pouring a block of concrete sidewalk, and I wanted him to measure how much sidewalk we poured, full city block, because that's what we get paid for. And he comes back and goes, we did 13 yards of concrete. And I said, that's not right. How did you get 13 yards out of that? And he said, well, there's 13 houses on this block, and each house has a front yard, so there's 13 yards of concrete. But I will say my artist is willing to learn and eager to help out, and those two skills will get you pretty far in life. And so I'm working on an Excel spreadsheet, and he comes over and goes, hey, what are you doing? And I said, I'm working on the spreadsheet, I'm crunching some numbers, trying to draw conclusions. And he said, can I help? And I said, my God, yes, you can help. And he said, great, do you want me to draw them with pencil or pastel? So I've been working from home a little bit. Round of applause if you're also working from home. All right, I got a working from home tip for you. If you're working from home and you're feeling stressed out, just press F5 on your keyboard. If you don't believe me, you should try it. You'll find it refreshing. So I had to get a new printer working from home. My wife and I have nicknamed our printer Bob Marley. And not because it prints at a pace that makes you think it's living that slow, relaxed reggae lifestyle, but it's because the damn thing always be jamming. So I was telling that joke to a friend of mine, and he's a one-upper. You guys know the type, whenever you tell them something, they've always got to best your story by one. If you haven't slept in a week, they haven't slept in two. If you could eat a horse, they've already eaten two. And so I told that story to my friend, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I've got a 3D printer at home, and I can print a gun." I said, "Oh yeah, Mr. One-Upper, I've got a Canon printer." That same night, Mr. One-Upper, we were hanging out with a friend of ours who had just gotten back from the Middle East. He was on deployment, and he was telling us when his convoy hit a roadside bomb and he got blown up. Thankfully, he was okay, but I think we can all agree this is a pretty bad day at the office, getting blown up in your car. And Mr. One-Upper looks at my veteran friend and goes, "Oh yeah, that's nothing. You ever work at Walmart?"